Hello, hi, my name is Mike Henley. I am chair of the Consultants Committee, Pay Terms and Conditions Subcommittee. I'm going to talk you through the pay offer which we've just had from government. And the first thing to say is 4% uplift is an insult. It's outrageous. Let me explain why and some of the background. Firstly, we will all remember we took industrial action last year. What was it all about? What did it deliver? If you look at this graph, this table, look down the right-hand side, you've got a whole list of numbers. Some people got up to 19.6% pay increase last year. Well, that is good, but it is only beginning to take the edge off of the pay that we've lost. What it is worth saying, however, is that industrial action which we took delivered the best pay increases we've had in a generation, way better than anything from our pay review body, the Doctors and Dentists Review Body. It also drove changes in the terms of reference, which we have to say we feel they have ignored. How much do we need to restore our pay? We've got a resolution at the BMA from 2022, so our pay must be restored within 5 years. The target date is 27-28, so not very far away. And to do that against RPI, and I would suggest that is our measure of inflation, we need 14% annually. To take the lower measure of inflation, CPI 8% annually. Why do we choose RPI? It's because, unlike CPI, RPI inflation includes housing costs, and every doctor I know lives in a house or flat and has housing costs to pay for, so that's a much more sensible figure. Additionally, if you owe the government money, you're a medical student with a debt, you are paying it back based on RPI. If you owe the taxman money, you are paying it back based on RPI. So it just seems to me pretty sensible to use the same as the government likes to use. We've been offered 4%. Just to give you a bit of context, we've done way worse than the private sector over the years since 2008, which I'll show you in a second. But just to give you an idea, even though they're way ahead of us, the average pay increase in the private sector at the moment is about 6%. So 4% again, way below that, way below that. Here's a graph. This one's against CPI, and it goes right back to 2008, which is when the trouble really started. And it started because of austerity, because of the banking crisis. And at that point, here we've got all of these lines being in the same place in 2008. Consultants, the whole economy, so the average worker, and financial and business services, because these are one of our traditional comparators, not in absolute pay terms, but in terms of linked changes. So we're often compared to, say, actuaries, etc., because of the level of responsibility, training, etc. So that's why that's selected. And if you look at this, you can see how much consultants, the orange line, has fallen down and down and down. And our pay has been restored by our action last year, but it's still got a long way to go, even to baseline, even to catch up with the average worker, and certainly to catch back up with our comparators. They're way ahead of us in this graph. Not everybody in hospitals, however, has fallen behind, so this is not in any way intended to pick on chief execs in hospitals. They do a damn difficult job. They deserve every penny, as far as I'm concerned, and I mean that genuinely. But if you look back at 2003, here's one particular trust, 112,000 the CEO was being paid, exactly the same trust, exactly the same size, exactly the same hospitals, now 285,000. Why is that? Because they have a remuneration committee that set their pay against comparators and against inflation. Completely different from consultant pay. So there, that pay's gone up by 160% over the time period. Maximum consultant can earn has gone up by 46% over the same time period. So just hugely different. You have been ripped off. The government is trying to convince you of some stuff. It's trying to tell you that you really shouldn't be asking for any more money. You're lucky. And the sorts of things it's saying is there's no money. We've got a fixed envelope. If you're paid more, it comes from the NHS budget, so your patients will suffer. Your colleagues will be sacked. All we need is one last push. Let's work together. We can do this. All of this clearly is just moral blackmail, because every single bit of this is political choice. Governments can decide how to raise money. They can raise money via borrowing. They've done quite a lot of that, so that's probably not the way to go. I shall show you a tax graph shortly. You'll be surprised to see that taxation in the UK is much lower than other similar countries. But all of this is not a natural truth. It's just moral blackmail. That's what they're trying to do to you. Already, you've been subsidising the NHS with your pay since 2008. Imagine the area under the curve. Imagine the impact of the fact your pay is still almost 30% down if you're about to retire next year or the year after at that level. For all of your 29 years of retirement, your pension will also be 30% down. There is a massive deficit in that. It's also worth remembering that the NHS is for all of us. It's for all 68 million people. It needs to be funded by general taxation, not by holding back the pay of those who work in it. The 1.5 million shouldn't have their own special tax to fund the NHS, which is what's going on at the moment. And definitely do not fall for this zero-sum game. Don't get yourself involved in, well, if I take less, maybe they can give the nurses more. It's the government's responsibility to pay all of us properly. I'll be the first to say that everybody in the NHS and in the public sector should be paid properly, and that needs to be addressed by taxation, a government choice. Nothing you can do about it directly. And here's a graph of taxation against GDP, the gross domestic product. So how do countries tax? And you can see this is the OECD list, major economies, and we're way down the bottom in terms of that. We're trying to pretend to everybody that we're going to deliver a Scandinavian health service by charging US rates of tax, and it's just not doable. And it's not yours or my fault that the government maybe made rash decisions when it stood for election. It really didn't need to make those decisions. But if you want to have a health service, you want to look after people, you need to put the money in to pay people fairly, and that is not happening at the moment. Now, there's a degree of internal panic I sometimes hear when we discuss this on Consultants Committee with members out and about. People say at least it wasn't 2.8%, which the government offered. Look, honestly, let me tell you, it was never going to be 2.8%. That's haggling, isn't it? It's the first rule of haggling. Come in with a low price and then people will be surprised. Do not tell yourself, oh, at least it wasn't 2.8%. It's just ordinary Moroccan souk haggling. Do not fall for it. I'm not sure if my colleagues will take action is something which we say to each other. We did a survey earlier in the year, and the survey definitely shows that what we were given is definitely below expectations, and also it was at the level where colleagues said they would take industrial action if they needed to. So you're not on your own if you think that you might do. People often convince themselves, well, I think I'm probably the only one, but you're not the only one, and you are allowed to take industrial action. Look how well it worked last time. So what have we done? What's happening next? We've announced a dispute with government. We went to the Secretary of State to say we are in dispute. Because of that, we have reintroduced the rate card. It's an updated version of the previous one. We've demanded talks with the Secretary of State. We would really dearly like to avoid industrial action, but if we need to, we know it's effective. We did it last time. It produced that biggest gain in a generation. It can do it again. This time we will aim to be as coordinated as possible. We're going to coordinate with SAS colleagues. We'll aim to coordinate with resident doctor colleagues. As a group, we are hugely powerful, hugely powerful. What do you need to do? Join the BMA if you're not in it already. Go and update your details online. When you've been in there and done that, even if you're not changed much, we at least know you still exist. When pay webinars come your way, come and join them, ask questions. We are on the lookout for active members. We're not going to give you lots of stuff to do, but we do need some active members. So when the opportunity comes, please sign up for that. Let me just leave you in closing with this remark. Remember, a 4% pay uplift is an insult. Do not let them do it to you. Do not leave it here. Thanks very much for listening and take care.